Okay, so Zoom is preparing to live stream the meeting. We'll find out if we are live in a moment. I should also see it on the screen. So welcome, welcome, welcome if we are already live. And hopefully you will be able to hear us both loud and clear. There we go.
Yes,
And
notification on the phone. So we are live.
we
Absolutely.
are live. And what we're going to do now is flick back to Zoom so I can see us live. Sounded clear enough. Hopefully, it's going to be in sync. So, if you are watching and listening, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. This is a live version of the podcast, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Ben Slater. Hello, Ben.
Good afternoon, Mike. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely my pleasure. And I couldn't be more delighted on all sorts of levels. To begin, then, hopefully we'll also have a recording of this. So if you are watching live, it will fingers crossed be recorded as well. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the International Mobile Film Festival in San Diego, April 25 to 27. And that's this year, 2025. Why are we talking about it? Well, unbelievably, I mean, Ben and I are delighted and over the moon and also kind of gobsmacked a bit surprised. Um, our little movie has been shortlisted in the short film section, and that's what we wanted to talk about. We thought that you may be interested in the process, how we did what we did, because it's a little bit unconventional, and calling it unconventional is very unconventional. And also, I wanted to share with you the sterling work that Ben has done with this movie, and I know he's very modest, but the way we thought we should explain it to you is to talk about the filming part first, the movie part first, and then we'll talk about the music because Ben, I probably should have said this up front, is, well, he's many things. Clever guy, a composer, a musician par excellence, and we'll get into that. So to begin, I'm not hogging the limelight deliberately. It will probably just make more logical sense to talk you through how we did what we did in the order that we actually did it. So essentially, I, like many people, have gone out and about and used a mobile phone to make some little videos. It's very often videos of nature. And over probably at least a year, Ben and I have done little collaborations. Most of those, I think, have been TikTok based. And I have also collaborated with other indie musicians who I want to shout out to, who are also friends and wonderful artists in their own right. And it so happened that Ben and I, as part of those collaborations, got into, I suppose, in how would one describe it these days in social media speak, as a streak. In other words, we were
Yeah.
banging things and ideas, and I created a little movie for a piece of music, again, a wonderful piece of music that Ben did. And he mentioned more than once, and I was very receptive to this, that we should make a movie sometime because we both like at least, that part of the creative process. And I then thought, well, yes, and I can't speak for Ben, and maybe he'll talk about this later on. But in my mind, a little bit was, well, we could get people to act, and we could get scenes, and maybe we could get a script, and we could shoot things remotely, and maybe visit a couple of places, and so on. And I'd still like to do that, but we kind of also recognize that that would be pretty labor and probably financially intensive as well. And I think that's no doubt still at the back of our minds. However, what then happened was one morning, and it literally was just exactly as I'm going to describe it to you. I got up and went out for a walk with my little dog, and immediately I was struck by the light. The light was amazing. It was a misty morning, And it was actually almost like dusk initially. And I thought, well, I'll just video a couple of things like this because maybe I can put a little video together or share this with some people on social media because, looking at nature is very healthy for us mentally and physically, boosts the immune system, lowers blood pressure, and all that stuff. And even looking at it on a screen can be good for people. And I'm aware that some people cannot get out. And I always think about that. And that's one of the reasons that I photograph and video nature. And anyway, as I walked on, I filmed another little bit and another little bit and another little bit. And I thought, I wonder if I could capture the light changing. So, one of the things that Ben and I have also talked about is, the best camera that we have is the one that's in our pocket that we have access to. And that tends to be the mobile. And these mobiles these days are extremely reliable and you get pretty darn good image quality. So this was kind of at the back of my mind. Could I put this together as a little movie that was shot in real time on this walk? And as I walked through this field, so basically all I was doing was walking around the field. I took one little peek to look at a tree canopy, and it was in real time. And what the shots were was really that walk in real time. I think I swapped a couple around that were maybe a couple of seconds apart because I faced this way and faced that way. So in essence, what I had was the camera that I had in my pocket, which turned out to be the mobile phone. But the light and nature was absolutely astounding. It was breathtaking. It was better than anything Hollywood could have done with these days some actually quite frankly rubbish CGI and the new LED screens that light up. This was real. This was the real McCoy. And and I had to do nothing beyond try and grab some shots on the run. So kind of, that sort of guerrilla type filmmaking. And the iPhone, as it was an iPhone, lent itself to that. And that was it. And then I got back and I looked at some shots didn't work and a couple did, but I put them in that sequence. And the thing with this video, and some people may be imagining, well, hold on a second, you've been shortlisted for this film festival, so it's going to be crane shots and fancy edits and actors and drama. No. And frankly, if I wanted to cheat, I could have edited in other shots, maybe on a different day, and used close ups and made them much smoother and less rough, and ultimately much less authentic. If you imagine back in the old days when we had 8mm movie film and 16mm, you couldn't really see. You had to look through a viewfinder, but you didn't know what was going on to the celluloid, and you didn't know until you looked at it later on. I was kind of in that mindset because I do like that approach of being in the moment and just mindful to what we're doing. So I didn't want it. So it wasn't shot in 4K and it wasn't shot in some sort of flat profile. And there was hardly anything done to it in post production. I tidied up a couple of things just to make the shots match. And it is what it is. So it is raw. It is rough. And then I edited it together and I thought, well, let's make it 3 minutes because I thought maybe there's a film festival thing we can do, but I wasn't sure. And here's the part which I think is quite, to me, flabbergasting, but also kind of goosebump making, is that I sent this to Ben and I said, look, this is a long shot, Ben, because I know you're really talented, but normally the way these things are done is the collaboration will tend to be the musician will come in and say, well, we can take that shot, let's move it around, or it's one scene that they add the music to. He had the complete article. And I said to him, look, if you don't think you can do it or you think we need to edit this around, but the conceit of it, the premise of it is that it's real time and it's rough, it's raw, it's as I filmed it. And well, then Ben went away and thought, and maybe I should because I've talked for a little while now, but I think that's an important lead in. It's important to set the scene. And then Ben, can you take us from the hey, what's Mike? What's his crazy guy doing again? You know, you were lying in the sunlight in Spain, and suddenly the window burst open, and an owl flew in with an SD card in its beak, and the cold Arctic air from the crazy guy in the north blew you around. And what is he doing? What have I got? So, what did you do when you got that?
He sent me the raw file, the video, and I watched it several times, obviously, and kind of just left it for the moment. I did, reply. I think I replied to you at the time saying that's really nice.
Mm.
And yeah, I didn't really know what to do with it because but I did have the idea that I shouldn't edit. You did say to me you can edit the film
Mm.
if you like, to fit it in with the music. And I thought, well, actually, I kind of always do that. That's always my process. That's always what I do. I always edit the video to the music because it's much easier that way. You can edit in cuts to fit in with the music, right? And it looks good and it's timed, etc., etc. We kind of basic videography stuff to get the timing right to fit in with music. But I thought, well, this is a challenge. This is something I've not done before. So I'm going to try and just write the music to the video, on cue to the video. So I had to think about a lot of things for that, specifically tempo. What tempo would I choose? So I was just kind of messing around on the computer with it. I didn't really say anything to you at this point, actually, Mike, but I think it was about a couple of hours and I had some ideas down. I think I sent you like a preliminary kind of thing of it. And I kind of left it after that. I thought, well, it's actually it's more difficult than I thought because I've
Yeah.
got to try and make this fit somehow. And I guess it doesn't matter if it doesn't fit perfectly. And it doesn't fit perfectly within sync to the actual shots in the video and the clips and stuff. But I sat overnight with it and I listened to it more. And then the next day I came back to it and I kind of finished the preliminary draft of it. It didn't take that long because it wasn't hugely complicated in terms of music, although the piano part is quite difficult. I find it hard to play. It took a lot of times. But anyway, I seemed to I went to bed and I thought, well, hopefully this will work out and we'll get some kind of sync with the video. And the next day came, I was thinking a bit, oh, it's probably not going to work like that, but I'll just do it anyway. So I did. And I put it to the video, and to my surprise, many of the changes within the video clips actually synced with the music. And the bit where I actually cut into kind of the bit where the drums come in, that's
Mhm.
the percussion part, which I put in, and it's just MIDI, but I don't
Mhm.
have drum kit here. So basically, that came in when the sun started coming. Well, the camera was coming up towards the sun, and that's when the vocals and the sort of percussion main part kicked in. And I was thinking, how did that happen? I actually didn't know. So that was a bit of a mystery to me,
It
hence the
it
title.
was it was astounding. And when you told me that, I mean, it was astounding getting it back. I was like, wow, what? I've walked around a field and I'm glad and I really like the raw result. And it is raw. But when the music then hit, and we put that in, we put the notes to the video when we entered it into
Yeah.
this competition and a couple of others, try and get the idea of what we were doing. So it's not only the camera in your pocket, but it's how sound, and in this case, of course, in particular, music, just changes the image or the images and the moving image. And I was blown away, and I didn't initially know that you'd essentially, I mean, I'm guessing we could hazard many guesses over what was going on, but your subconscious has been working on that
Yes, sir.
and somehow getting that timing so that it's like, wow. And some of it, you're right, it's not exact to the cut, but you wouldn't want that. That would I think that wouldn't have worked at
It's
all.
kind of impossible. Well, I wouldn't say impossible, but it's very difficult to
It,
memorize everything, and then with the time and also the scenes with the lights and the light and stuff like that to make everything sync perfectly from a blind, from doing it
yes.
blind, because I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
it blind. I did it blind, literally. I watched it, but then while I was doing the music, I wasn't watching the video at that point. So that was kind of it was like memory, I guess. I was thinking, oh, it evolves into this, and I tried to think of some lyrics and some words and stuff, and I put them into I wrote them down, and then got some input from my dad actually, and also my yeah. So and
Oh
from Dano as
wow,
well. So we had a
wow.
noodle with the words and trying to get the rhymes in there. And I like to get things rhyming. So I'm a bit sort of
Oh,
OCD on that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just kind of wrote some stuff which was my thoughts really at the time. And I can't even remember the full song in terms of lyrics. I just wrote them down, and they seem to fit in with the whole kind of expanse of the song. So yeah, and actually
it,
used them all up. And
that's
I did
astounding.
an interesting key change in there, but there was nothing like musically, I would say, like astounding or anything like that. It was just a creation on the fly for me, and it didn't actually take that long. The most lengthy process for me was mixing and mastering, because I'm struggling with that at the moment, because it's quite a difficult process. I'm a musician primarily, not an audio engineer, so
Mm,
part
mm.
is that part's more tricky for me, but I'm
Well,
learning.
I couldn't do any of it. So I couldn't do the mixing.
Me
But I
too.
certainly couldn't do the musicianship.
Completely.
So it's funny how you say, well, it's nothing. But so let me for the viewer, the listener, describe again that when Ben sent that back, it was literally blown away. How did you do that? How do you do that? I mean, I'm not a musician. I really like music, and I love the way that it can change us emotionally. And I think it's so powerful. There's something quite deep going on
Yeah,
with music, with sound. But with that, I wouldn't have known not only where to start. Now you might think, well, okay, so yeah, but that's you're just blown away because you don't know how to do it, and that is true.
that's
But
part
I
of
was
it,
I
but
was blown away as a consumer of the music with that, and
very
thought, how did you do it?
grateful. I'll tell you sort of the process which I used for that particular one was, after having looked at the video a good number of times, soaking it in, sleeping on it, getting up the next day, and also going. Actually, when you sent it, I actually did something in that moment. I just felt like it, so I did. And I didn't say anything to you at that point, but then there was, some time passed, and then after sleeping on it, I put it together. But I think I started with the piano. Yeah, I started with the piano part. So I've got like a full on, 88 key MIDI keyboard. So fortunately, I did study piano in music college and all that, but it wasn't my first instrument. Viola is my first instrument. So I started on the piano. I thought I've got to have some kind of a rhythmic thing going on with the piano. So I put that down, and then didn't have the full piano part until later. So I actually put kind of chords down and a rhythmic part in one hand, really. And I played it with two to make it easier at that part, because the next part on the piano was the scales, which would go up with the viola solo, because there's a viola solo in there. And the viola
Mm,
solo was designed to go in harmony with the piano right hand as it went up the scales. And
right.
that took quite a few takes to get down, because it's difficult with the microphone and getting it right, the right distance. So I had to do quite a few takes to get it right, and also timing and all that, metronome. So yeah, it was a lengthy process, the viola solo bit, but it wasn't complex as such.
Wow. Again, from I think the consumer of the music, it just on its own, it just spectacular. And then the fact it was done for that video was, I use that word again, astounding. And I was just absolutely bowled over. It was phenomenal. And I really hope that in terms of the video that's out there with that bit of music, and I know you've got it on a couple of other tracks as well, videos as well, or at least one. But the people recognize that and recognize the skill and talent that is involved there, and on that sort of front. Ben. I'm going to check and see if there's any questions or comments and stuff in a moment. But could you just let people know in terms of music or whatever you want, roughly what you do, what you're hoping to achieve, and do you
Yeah.
want people to be able to contact you or ask about music as well?
For me, ideally, a profession in music is what I seek. I mean, it doesn't have to be that specifically, but it's something I enjoy. It's something I like being creative. So for me, it's very. I've learned the viola since the age of 7 years old. So I picked up a viola back in primary school, and I never put it down. So basically, that's been with me, and I'm now 43. So yeah, I've studied viola for a long time, and I took up piano sort of a year later because they said, oh, you should, if you're going to do study music, you should play piano as well. So I took up piano as well for that reason, to support, the harmonic process, and the way that
Yeah.
the keyboard gives you, excuse me, what pitch, the keyboard gives you a better view of harmonic structure than you might get just looking at, the neck on the viola because you can't see any frets. It's fretless. So basically, yeah, for me, the whole process of music was with the intention of doing it as a living in the future. And since then, I've kind of evolved in terms of where I would like to go. So
Right.
me, I think it's film music, sound effects as well, kind of meditation stuff, and some soloist, virtuosic stuff, virtuoso kind of style stuff. But that obviously requires more practice. So that's something that I'd have to practice to get down. But it's not, I've done it before, so that's another thing that I'd like to do. Composing for short films, composing for anything, even doing sort of healing music is all these kind of music therapy stuff going on
And
today.
so, and you're open then to inquiries about that.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, it's something that I would like to do in the future.
How
Or
would people
now,
get in contact with you? Obviously, you have also a YouTube
yeah.
channel.
I have a YouTube channel. I have a few, but the music one is on YouTube. With the algorithms these days, it's kind of, you have to upload really consistently to get a subscriber base.
Oh
Unless,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so unless you do a video which kind of, goes viral or whatever, which is great, which happened on another channel of mine. But
Mhm.
if that happens on this one, then that would be fantastic. I mean, obviously I'd get a lot of attention that way, but which is what I want ultimately. Although for me personally, the music is something I do because I find it is a very healing process for me personally. So it's not exactly for other people. If other people benefit from it and get something from it, then that is really mission accomplished actually. But and then if I can get some kind of make my living out of it, well, I guess that's the dream, isn't it? Really, that's
Well,
people's dream. That's
that would
everyone's dream.
be fantastic. I will make sure that in terms of the recording of this, that hopefully will be being recorded. I add in your details that
Thank you.
you want there
Yes.
for people to contact you. So that will be
Yeah, I
there
mean,
as part of the description.
my email is listed on the YouTube channel, so
All right.
that's a good means of contact. They and anyone can reach out on the YouTube channel because I've got a small subscriber base. It's very easy for me to see comments these days, although I don't always see them. But I always check it from time to time, so I will respond. Obviously, email, YouTube, TikTok is another one. I've got more fan base on TikTok, but
Mm.
TikTok's a different platform. It's a different audience, and I don't know. I'd have to kind of hone my attention in a slightly different way. I think with TikTok to approach it that way. But yeah,
Yeah, it's a different
it's a
there's a
different
different
beast, isn't it?
kind of algorithm set at work.
Definitely,
But
yeah.
yeah. Let me then I'll just check, see if there's any questions or comments. Nothing that I can see. I am aware of course also that we are at it, it's still well mid-afternoon, would I call it that, in the UK and earlier in different locales who are likely to tune in. So I don't think, as far as I can see, we have any questions or queries. But again, people are more likely to look at this on the
It's a
replay,
very big budget.
which and hence I'll put those details up. So therefore, I throw things back to you to say anything else that you want to add.
Just with regard to your video and how it inspired me actually. So
Oh,
when you sent me that, it although it is different to Cornwall, which is where I'm from originally, Cornwall, UK, southwest, West Penwith, actually that part of Cornwall, and we'd get off the north coast, we'd get this fog roll in, really thick fog, and it goes up, quite a high. There's big cliffs on the north coast of Cornwall, and that fog can just roll in. It can be a really warm, sunny day, and suddenly you get this fog bank, and it was so still and so perfect. It reminded me of when it would do that in on the north coast on a good day when you've got that kind of lovely warm sunshine in the cold north coast sea, the Atlantic, and it rolls in like the condensed air, the mist just comes in. It's pretty thick and still it comes in real slow. And sometimes it just creates that atmosphere with that light, and you captured it, and that's really what hit the spot for me. It was like, oh yeah, I can really connect with that because it's so familiar. Not that the trees, because we don't have a lot of trees where I live. It's very
mm,
windswept. It's kind of like the Highlands of Scotland in many ways, but
mhm.
a little bit warmer. But yeah, it's that video was stunning, and it really opened something up within me, which inspired me, got me to put down some stuff which was, yeah, at least meaningful to me. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's great. I mean, that's lovely. The day certainly. I mean, I've seen, of course, I've been out in mornings that are misty with a bit of sunlight, but that for the length of time that the mist remained and the sun was still not quite through. We had this sort of diffused look to everything, and a wash of kind
it
of
was a special day.
golden glow. It felt like it was a dream. It
Yeah,
was so
certainly looked
odd
like it.
in a
It
good
looked
way.
incredible. It was
Um,
extremely well. You were just there at the right time, and
yeah, and the thing
had your
is,
iPhone, which was
eh,
perfect.
say again, sorry.
You had your iPhone. The iPhones are renowned for, good image quality. Um, as a
That's exactly what I was going to say, Ben. Exactly that, because if I had mucked about with a camera and I had to do things, and I would have lost it, and you could just literally pull it out
Yeah,
and film this, and that to me is kind of very much a love letter to the fact that we have these devices, and
yeah,
unlike when you were using again ancient camcorders that might need a mains power supply and whatever.
yeah,
It's we and it is to do at least one use of it of that tech is
yeah.
to do with capturing it in the moment. And even if there's imperfections, that's it. It shouldn't be, in my opinion, for that type of thing, so polished that it
Mhm.
looks
I agree.
anodyne
It's
and
Mobile
you
phones are
lose it.
amazing. They're amazing these days, especially, I think the gold standard is the iPhone. As much as it pains me to say, they are quite pricey in terms of like,
Mm.
you want to buy it just from the store if you don't go on a contract, which I'm personally not on a contract, so I just use I've got a fairly nice phone. It's not an iPhone, but the iPhone is definitely a better option for just out the box video. If you just want to press play and press record, and then you've got pretty good quality image straight away.
Yeah, I think you're right. The when you're saying that, what springs to mind is the Canon EOS Mark II, was it? Five EOS five
5D Mark
two
II?
five Mark II. Um, that was renowned.
Yeah,
Even if you looked at the spec of it now compared to the more modern cameras, it gets left behind. But there's a particular look to the image,
yeah, it's a
and
full frame
and
sensor.
there's something about some of the iPhones. I don't think all the models that just out of the box they do that. And now a word from our sponsors. This video has been sponsored by iPhone, ladies and gentlemen. And if you'd like to purchase an iPhone, you can do it through our website. We'll give you a discount. It's only £5,000 each. No, they're not that expensive. No, no, we won't definitely not get Apple as a sponsor. Um,
Well, who knows? But yeah, I don't think so. But Apple, as much as they're annoying with their restrictions and stuff, they're pretty reliable, and you buy a machine and it lasts a bit longer than a Windows PC. Did I say that? But yeah, it does.
Oh
Uh,
yes, they do. That's
yeah,
for darn sure. Um, but anyway, so we're absolutely delighted. We're over the moon, and again, I
yeah.
think
Wish
both
for more.
surprised that somebody somewhere judging, looking at the shortlist, got what we were trying to do, and that's
And
such a nice feeling, isn't it?
it is. I'm very grateful for everything that's happened. It's all kind of fallen into place. I didn't expect you to actually post these this video in different competitions. I didn't think about that, but then you reached out and you said, and I was I was over the moon with that because I didn't think of it actually.
Yeah, we did a very small selection because you could go mad, and there we go. So I am again surprised, but in a really nice way, and
Yeah,
absolutely delighted that somebody somewhere or a group of people thought, yeah, I can see what you two were trying to do. And as I say, I fervently hope that from this, your musicianship and what you do and how you do it and what you can do is recognized and
appreciate
people
that.
get in contact. And so I guess that will pretty much bring us to the end of this episode of the podcast. I have promised if you tune into this channel fairly regularly that we'll have different things, and it is a little bit some people have sort of described it, the people who like it, as eclectic. And yes, it is. There's a little bit about self-leadership and psychological mysteries, and also critiques of people who are out there, and talking to people who are interesting individuals. And I want to do more of that. And Ben is an extremely interesting individual. And this is unique in terms of this episode because we're talking about something we collaborated on, and somebody's recognized it, and it's just phenomenal to be shortlisted. So anyway, for the moment, from me, bye for now.
And from me also, bye for now and see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you. Thanks everyone if you've been watching, and we will post the recording hopefully also soon. I'm just gonna, I probably should have done it before, but this is real low tech. So no, as I suspected, I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't somebody desperately going, oh, hold on, don't go, because we have a quick question. So I will end this, and we'll catch up in just a minute, Ben. And I will also stop that, and we'll end that, and I'll give you a shout.